Hey guys, it's Ethan with trackstarmediaworks. Today we have one of my favorite combos. Definitely, I'm a Honda fanboy. That's kind of where I got started. But over time, I have grown to really love the JZ combination in basically anything. And I've tuned them in RX-7s, in S2000s, in tons of 240s. Of course, our good friend Fielding Shredder. I think that was maybe the first VVTi swap car that I tuned, like I guess 10 years ago. Now on ECU Masters. So this one is also 2JZ VVTi ECU Master, so tends to be a good working combination. This car already has it's a running car, but just barely. I think that the owner had put a base map on, got it to idle pretty much, and that's it. So I've already opened up the file and I see quite a few things to fix right away. So I'm gonna show you guys what I see right away that's kind of red flag, and then what I do to fix it. All right, the very first thing that I saw that I'm not gonna be able to show you guys now is that the lambda target tables were all goofed up with kind of jumbled numbers. And I've seen that a few times when you go from changing firmware or from laptop to another laptop that has different software versions. So for the moment, I just put all ones in the table. We're gonna have to increment that in a little bit, but that will work for now. So that was the first thing that jumped out to me. Other items, when I started the car up, I could see it was pretty rich, so I looked at the ignition, the coolant, the warm-up table here, enrichment, and you can see it never comes down to 100%. So, when we're about 90 or so, we should be out of coolant enrichment, and so we want to change that to, well, it didn't take it. There we go. So now we have 100% at 90 degrees C, and then I need to flat these ones as well, and then I need to just give this an increment down so that we don't have such a jump. Oh, another thing that immediately jumps out at me is the IAT is saying 110C right now. That's an extremely high IAT. So either the sensor is configured wrong, calibrated wrong, or something is wrong. So I gotta go look in the bay and see what sensor do I actually have. Right now it's set up for a 1JZ sensor, which would be appropriate if the stock temperature sensor is in use. The problem this creates is when we get a false reading of 110, then our ignition trim, so right now we would be minus 2.5 degrees because of that 110C intake air temp, and it's not accurate. So definitely need to fix that right now. Two more quick things for safety's sake for starting out. I go into the fuel cut here, and man, I can see that they really don't have a boost cut set. So I'm gonna move this down. The car is on pump gas, and I don't know what the wastegate spring is, so I'm gonna set a cut at 200 kPa right now. And now I'm also gonna move the rev limiter down 6,200. That's just to get started out. I like to have those lower thresholds right now. That'll keep us safer, Then furthermore, on boost, I don't want to have the boost controller on yet because we haven't seen anything. The car hasn't been tuned in any boost. So I'm going to turn boost control off. I'm going to switch the control type to open loop because that's the first control type that I will be using. But those are two quick things just to bring some more safety into our first driving of the car. Then I look at the VE table and I can see right away there's some significant blocking here and color change, that's abrupt. Like there's no reason to have this larger numbers right here where it goes 67, 71, 60, it shouldn't go and then back down right here. 67, 72, 63, 60, 60. You shouldn't have that kind of a shift. So the VE table, let's look at it graphically. And yeah, there we go. You can see that it doesn't look quite right. You see the spine over here and then a couple peaks and big valley right along here. So I need to change the shape fundamentally to get it closer to the ballpark. Other thing worth noting at this moment is that the ego correction is turned off. You want to make sure that as you go tuning the VE table stuff that you don't have the oxygen sensor screwing with you while that's happening. I like to make the car as perfect as possible without the ego feedback, and then once I'm done, then I can turn that back on. So I've now got the VE table with a nice pretty shape. Car's idling okay here, but a couple other concerning spots that I see is coolant gauge is got this crazy bounce to it. It's going down to 80 and then up to 99. Something is interfering on that circuit. The TPS is also a 5-volt circuit, and I'm afraid something similar is going on there. When I rev up, I get a reading, but it's all over the place. So I do need to calibrate some drive-by-wire stuff, but that doesn't look good when it's combined with what I see on the coolant channel. I'm about to ask if it has a wiring specialties harness, and I'm afraid that I already know the answer to that. Here's that TPS jitter, the coolant jitter down here on the log. So you can see, as we're just sitting here, it's having a pretty big variation. All these little saw blade looking blips, like it cannot be like that. It's gotta be flat and steady for me to properly tune the car. So I need to do some digging right now. Okay, so I just showed you guys the variation that I was getting in the data log. Here is why I believe it's happening. We're about to confirm. But every coil pack can be different. These coil packs, looks like the connector has 4 wires, but only 3 are in use. So some coil packs have a sensor ground and a chassis ground, but you definitely have to make sure you hook them up where they are intended to be hooked up. So it seems to me, based on prior experience, that these chassis ground wires are hooked up on the sensor ground right now, is what I think. So to test that, we have our voltmeter hooked up into the ground wire here. Then I come over to the ECU. I see that on my pinout, it is sensor ground is on pin 29. So if we hear a beep from this, that means they are grounded in the wrong spot. So here we go, 3rd pin over. So the wires that are supposed to be chassis ground are on the sensor ground and inducing major interference. So hopefully I can chop the wires there at the coil pack connector and then just add my own chassis ground there. Then they won't be traveling to the ECU anymore, and hopefully we'll have clean signals. All right, so now we have a new ground right here coming off of the coil pack harness, going to a chassis ground instead of to the ECU. Let's see what it looks like now. You can tell right away that it looks good. The coolant is steady, 95. Let's pull up the log. Okay, there's the TPS now too. Look at it, 2%. Oh yeah. Both of those are now dead steady and reading accurately. Now until my next problem, I'm ready to continue tuning. All right, so I still have a couple little things to go over though before I can really operate the car. I haven't done any ignition timing sync at this moment in time, which usually is kind of one of the first steps, but this car came in already running, so I didn't have to go through the kind of safety check process and then setting the timing there. The car runs, so I know that it's kind of within the ballpark. But I also need to look at the ignition timing maps themselves and make sure that they look appropriate to get started on. So right now I have the ignition map on screen, and I can see it's got a couple weird things going on. I mean, like, you shouldn't have any blocks like this where we go 20 and then 21, 21. Really, as you go up in boost, you should definitely have decreasing timing. So where we have 20 and 20, like, probably needs a step down. 8, and then these are starting to be pretty high numbers for the boost pressure. 18, 18, 18. Like, as we get out here, we definitely need to be retarding timing more, especially on pump gas. So I need to make some changes to the ignition table to make it like fundamentally safe right now. And I always like to start with lower timing than what I know it's gonna eventually be able to tolerate. But same thing on fueling, you know, too much fueling and too low a timing, safe way to start out. All right, let's see where we're at. I have the timing locked at 10 degrees right now, and it looks like we're basically at 2 degrees right now. So I need to advance the trigger timing then. You hear how the car sounds happier. That is right on it. I'm asking for 10 and I see 10 exactly right now. On it. Now I need to check and make sure there's not any drift as I rev up. That's good. That's real good. Okay, so we just ran into a bit of a stumbling block here. I got the car loaded on the dyno. I did the calibration pull. Temperatures were already above 100 C. So it looks like we might have a major air pocket. 350Zs are pretty hard to bleed anyways. and they have a bleeder assembly on the firewall at one of the heater core lines. During this swap, that's no longer there. So I am going to add that bleeder screw, bleeder assembly on the firewall. Hopefully we can get the car bled out and temperatures down then. All right, well, it seems that we may have gotten around the overheating problem for the moment. I added the bleeder, like I mentioned, a stock 350Z has right here on the heater core line. 350Zs are definitely hard to bleed out the coolant system anytime, and then without that valve, it seems like it maybe is impossible. So this seems to be behaving pretty well now. I've already gone through a couple other systems of the car. VVTi was not working correctly, had a bunch of wrong PID settings for that, fixed that, had a knock sensor that was active with a total miscalibration. So I've gotten to go into the tune now and kind of clean up a bunch of other problems that were seemingly adjustments from the prior owner that were inappropriate. So we've done a couple pulls now on straight gate. Looks like it's only about 7 pounds. Car's like 260, 70 wheel horsepower right now. Really, really rich on fueling, really soft on timing. So hopefully I can do some optimization here and then we can just escalate the boost. We got, all right, 296, 313. Oh, look at the shape. Look at the previous shape, and now the new shape. Now we're getting somewhere. There we go. That's like all the fundamental things now are correct. The timing I'm asking for is actually happening. The cam timing I'm asking for is actually happening, and we just have really low boost pressure right now. So that's like 162 kPa, so it's legitly like 7.5, 8 pounds. So not doing too bad now. Okay, that looked pretty clean, even better, yes, yes.
There we go.
We are now in the ballpark.
And we're heading in a positive direction.
And definitely, if you're keeping track, you would have seen there's at least like 6 or 7 major issues that we had to kind of figure out, diagnose, and then triumph over here as far as this was already a running car and we had that many major issues. So this is why I don't even want to accept a non-running car, because the number of complications that you can get into are plentiful, even once the car is running. So on standalone stuff, and this car apparently was driven around for like a year on settings that were really, really wrong, man. Like even the ignition, the most basic ignition timing sync, that was 10 degrees off. And then other factors in the ECU was just like fundamentally wrong. If he did drive it around, man, it had to be really bad. Just the interference issue alone, like, I mean, that was, you saw what it was doing on the inputs. Like, you cannot have a fun car with that kind of reading going on. So anyways, that's my rant for the moment. All right, so I'm gonna do one more run on straight gate right now. We've gone from 230 wheel horsepower to 318 wheel horsepower on gate by getting VVTi all working properly, getting the knock sensor stuff calibrated in, and tuning fuel basically. Now it's, like I said, in the ballpark of correct performance. The dyno plot is the correct shape now. It had this big fall off before that let me know something's missing in the top end. So now we're making peak power pretty close to rev limiter, and I think I should just be able to turn the boost up, adjust AFR, adjust timing, and keep doing that. I'm gonna do, like I said, final run with no controller right now, just to make sure of exactly what base we're at before I start adding boost. That's what I expect. I expected a little drop because I added in a soft rev limiter cut. So that started cutting power like 200 RPMs before the rev limiter. So that makes sense that it dropped just a little bit of power. But you could hear that we did actually hit the rev limiter and got the nice clean bounce there. We were just getting the doom fuel cut. So this kind of cushions it, makes it a little bit safer. So that's a good place. I saw consistent AFR numbers between those two runs. Data logs look real clean and smooth. So I think I'm ready to turn the boost control on and turn her up.
That's exactly what we want.
I like it. That is how it is supposed to happen.
Just a small power increase after the boost controller was
Words
connected.
cannot express how rare it is for me to turn a boost controller on and have it work the next pass. Like, if I wasn't the one that installed it, I don't know if I've ever had it happen. So that was pretty cool right there. Hopefully we just keep that game going and we'll be set here soon. Nice. It was a very small increase. I was refining a couple other things, so now I should be able to really bring it in. Got a nice little bump there up to 350 wheel and 370 torque. See what the shape looks like. Go back to you can see the boost fill in there. Needs more boost though. That was about 13 pounds of boost right now. Everything is working well right now. I probably shouldn't say that sentence, but that was 370 and 390 torque.
So we're getting very close to...
That was at 14 pounds. So we got a few more pounds to go till we kind of probably call it a stopping point on pump gas. And for now, I think that down the road, the owner's probably going to put some E85, fix a couple things, like the cooling fans are still woefully inadequate right now. So I'm really only able to make 1 or 2 runs, and then I got to kind of let it chill for a minute. But so this is round 1 for this car. As many cars with as many problems as we already had, we're lucky to be where we're at right now, honestly. When, yes, it was dropped off yesterday, and we've had major electrical problems, major cooling problems, it's been every system of the car we've had to look at. So doing pretty good considering where we came from. I just wanted to highlight the last 3 dyno plots as we've been escalating boost. Take a look at the shape there. That is what it is supposed to look like as we're escalating boost. Just getting a step up, and still smooth, the same shape, just moved up. Looks nice. That's about all she wrote. I was like ending at 18 pounds. We have a pretty good taper up to it, so I might fill in a little bit, but that's gonna be pretty much our final numbers, I think, as far as peaks. That was clean. Should be our best numbers. That was the first run where the final RPM didn't have a richer mixture than what I was desiring. So, but I think that's probably, I don't have any more room for boost. I don't have any more room for ignition timing. That's pretty much, that's it right there. On pump gas, I know that he's gonna do 85, so I'm not gonna try to get crazy number out of it. We're gonna try to keep it together, let him go have some fun with it now and come back some other day for 600 on some E85. That is a good looking plot now. That's right at 18.5 pounds of boost for that. So we could run a little bit more. I could probably run a little bit more timing, but like I said, not gonna do that. Gonna call it happy there. We are finally done with the 350Z. It did take 2 full days rather than the kind of 3/4 of a day that a tune session generally fits into. There were a lot of problems that we had to work through. I just wanted to re-highlight, like, this car came running. So it's really easy to like buy a running car and think it's maybe just a tune away. That's what this guy was told, just a tune away from being good. And yeah, there were some major issues in the tune, but there was a lot more than just the tune. I mean, I had to fundamentally rewire the car. The coil packs that I showed were grounded on the wrong circuit. Then we had multiple settings in there that, you know, like it was a running car, but like the VVTi stuff was totally wrong. The cam offset was totally wrong, so fuel was being injected at the wrong moments. Car sounded like it had cams. It didn't have cams, aftermarket cams of any kind. Now it sounds clean that we fixed everything there. Finally, the overheating was preventing us from making continual runs, and we had to address a lot in that aspect too. And it's still not A1 there. He's gonna have to get some different fans and not have them on the front with a shroud. But yeah, had to struggle through a lot, and I mean, unfortunately, that's par for the course for a lot of the tunes that come here. So I know we mentioned earlier that, you know, part of what you're paying for when you're choosing a tuner is past experience and how quickly can they overcome an obstacle. This one made me overcome a lot of obstacles, but here we are. I'm pretty happy with what all we had to do and where the car is now sitting. The owner can take it, have some fun with it, and like I said, move to later we can do some E85 and get that 600 number. That I think that is going to finish it up for the Z. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked it, if you learned anything, please hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.